the best podcast on the planet.
All right, so we're supposed to make sure you wash your hands about 75 times a day. We're supposed to wipe everything down with an antibacterial cloth. When we go outside, which you're not supposed to go outside, when you go out, please don't go into public. Don't stand around where there's a bunch of people. And if you do, make sure that you're standing, 6 feet away from everybody. Mm-hmm. What else? What am I missing? Am I missing any of the other rules and regulations here?
No hoarding.
Right, no hoarding, although that's continuing to go. There's still...
Which I don't understand it, but how much toilet paper do you need?
Well, see, now the issue is hair color is hard to find, and trimmers are hard to find, and all kinds of... There's a lot of interesting things that are moving...
I feel like people wouldn't buy those as much because you're not caring as much, I don't know.
Guess. I don't know. I quit caring several years ago. I just said, you know what? It's my hair. I'm gray, and I'm just going to let it go gray. My beard is gray. My hair is gray. Everything is gray, gray.
I have not done my hair in 3 weeks. Seriously.
What hair? You've shaved your head.
Seriously, where is it? Is it up there? Yeah, there it is.
Now, Dale, on the other hand, for those of you who may not be watching on the video, Dale is sport. You're really letting your beard grow.
Mm-hmm. And the more it grows, the more it gets gray on the ends there.
Are you doing this on purpose, or have you don't have a beard trimmer?
I got a beard trimmer. I'm just letting it.
You just don't care.
Just want to see what happens.
Ralph shaved his entire beard, right when this whole thing started.
Oh, that neck thing?
Yeah.
The neck beard?
When he said that was a mistake. And so now it's growing back, and I guess he just wanted to see. But I'm I guess now's the time to take the chances.
Well, I've considered shaving my head. I have.
Really?
So I really have. I've thought about it.
Do it.
You need to do it on the show, though.
Yeah, can you do it on this?
If I do it, we'll do it here, or we'll film it or something like that. The radio station wants me to do it for them too, so I may just film it and just give it to everybody. Yeah. All right. So all of this actually is pertaining to what I wanted to bring up today. Everything that we're doing right now, is this a good idea? Is all of this social distancing, this working from home, avoiding other people, not for those of us who are fortunate enough to be able to work from home, is this a good idea, or have we made a huge mistake in the approach to what's been happening right now? And I don't think we're going to come to a specific conclusion. I don't think we're going to answer all of it. I just want to have the discussion and see what we all think. For those of you that are listening and watching, please give us your feedback. We'd love to hear it. SethMilaMedia@gmail.com. What do you think? Is the decision and the actions that have been taken, and for lack of a better term, forced upon us, is this a good idea, or have we damaged our society as a result of all this?
Are you two wear masks when you go somewhere?
I tried to.
I never have.
I forgot a couple times, but we try to.
It's interesting you ask. The grocery store that I go to a couple days ago, I walked in, and there's a sign on the door that says, from tomorrow on, you have to have a mask on, or they will not let you in the store. Mm-hmm. And I really, it's really, I don't know how I feel about that. My first knee-jerk reaction was, well, screw this, I'm not going to come to your store. But I want to think it through logic. For those of you who don't know, I have an issue with authority.
No.
I have a tendency to my knee-jerk reaction is when authority tells me to do something, my initial reaction is no.
I think that's a lot of Americans, and I think that's why we're having this discussion, to be honest. Because, they have other signs up there like you have to wear a shirt to go inside, and you follow that one, and you don't take up offense of that one, and the whole shoes thing. And if you see people without shoes in the store, you're like, ew. Go leave, Okay. So why the mask thing? So is that just because the whole authority thing, or is it based on the virus thing?
That's a very good question.
Here's one problem I have with the mask. It's most of the ones that people are wearing are not effective if they're trying not to get germs. They're not. I've seen people with bandanas. I've seen people with put a shirt over their face, and just cheap mask. I mean,
you know what? That's a very good point, because wearing the mask is not to protect the person wearing the mask. It is to protect other people. Those masks do not prevent anything from getting in. The masks prevent you when you're coughing and all that kind of sneezing.
It's hard to prevent a sneeze.
Right. It's to prevent your germs from getting out, so that if you happen to be a carrier or you're infected and you don't know it, that's kind of the characteristics of this thing going on, that you're not spreading it to other people.
And it lives on surfaces, so it's not even just people around you. That's the problem too.
And so that's the purpose of the mask. And I guess I know I'm not infected. I have been quarantined here in Casa de Mila for how long have we been doing this now? 3 weeks? 4 weeks? I don't even know anymore.
What day is it?
What day is this?
Tax day.
I don't know.
Surprise.
Oh yeah,
fake.
We're filming
fake.
this. It is tax
fake
day.
Tech.
Thanks, Holly.
Yeah, I've had mine withdrawn from my checking account. What I had to pay.
Yeah. So I guess that's the thing. I know I'm not sick. I know I'm not a carrier. Right? I'm fine. I don't like having to wear the mask to, so that I don't infect anybody. I'm not going to infect you. I'm fine.
But see, I did read an article about a girl that she lives, her and her husband have been living in separate rooms this whole quarantine. Like they started like March 15th or whenever, like the earliest they went home, have been living in separate rooms the entire time, have been having everything delivered, haven't gone out at once. And she just got it. And she has it, tested positive for it.
Really?
And the only thing they can trace it back to is somebody that delivered groceries to her door tested positive for it. And so then she later tested positive. So yeah, that's the only, it lives on surfaces, and she happened to, I guess, pick up her groceries without gloves or whatever. So
yeah, okay.
So that's the only thing about it.
Yeah, like the mask thing. I saw a demonstration someone did on Facebook. They had not every kind of mask, but the ones that commonly seen, like the ones that just go here, the ones go there, and they would spray like aerosol through them to see if it goes through. And every one of them, except for those special ones, I think 3M makes them that has like little filters there.
Right.
There's aerosol went through the mask.
So from the person's mouth through the mask out into the masses.
So I think it's probably one of those sneezes, it's going to be hard to stop, like you're saying, without that really intense mask. But all the other stuff, like coughing or, when you talk, you accidentally, sometimes saliva comes out, which is gross. But, that happens. You accidentally spit when you're trying to pick up your can of beans or whatever at the grocery store, and you accidentally spit all over all the other cans of beans. You don't mean to. But
wait a minute. You don't reach up to the shelf and go,
I don't know what you do. When you say the word beans, I don't know. A pea. Maybe you're picking up peas. I don't know.
Where's the pork and beans?
I don't know. Who knows? People are weird.
All right. Well, the other thing that concerns me is the huge economic ramifications that all this is having. I was reading today that this is having a worldwide effect on economies that is going to be, because it is global, it is going to have as much effect, if not more effect, as the Great Depression
I read that
did.
too, yeah.
So I just, here's a tough question, all right? A very tough question. Is the cost that it's going to happen to the world's population, all of the people that are going to end up paying a price of some way, shape, form, or fashion for this, is it worth the lives that have been saved?
I know, is it? I know that, and that comes. I've had this conversation a couple times, and it's the whole sanctity of life thing, especially us. Those of us. I'm very much against abortion and all the things, very much the sanctity of life. And I'm like, you know what? If you're really against abortion, then you also need to be sanctity of life of that 60-year-old that has compromised immune system, and we need to take up the charge for them. I know it sucks, but so does having a child when, you weren't planning to have a child and all of the things. So you got to look at both sides of it. So
yeah, you plan on making sacrifices. When you become a parent, that's a very good example.
And it's very expensive.
When you become, and Holly, I got to tell you something. It never stops.
I know.
It never stopped. Dale, it never stops. When you have kids or when you discover the ones you've got now.
Dang.
That is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, Seth, you look like the type to me that would go up to an older person if they said they had the virus, that you were like, do you want me to tell your grandkids anything for you? You lived your life. It's time.
I know. It's like, this isn't worth it.
You've
I'm
lived your
sorry.
life. It's time for me to live now.
Yeah.
Dale says, where were we flying?
On an airplane.
We were flying to Washington, D.C. for a Glenn Beck thing. We were invited to be guests of Beck, and we were flying up there, and we had to sit separately. Right, we couldn't sit together.
Why?
Mainly because mainly because I'm not sure that they would allow both of us to sit together because our side meat is going to touch, and they're probably like, we can't have this.
We can't have that.
So we're sitting separately, and we're acting like we don't know each other. And I look back and I go, "What are you looking at, fat man?" You know. And we start having this issue back.
Oh my gosh.
And we were, I don't know, how did we get started? It's
because they start talking about that door that, you got to help everybody to the exit.
If you live...
We're on the exit.
door.
I'm on the exit door. Yeah. And there's like an older person next to me, and Dale's like, well, are you going to help her? I'm like, no, I'm sitting next to her because I know I can crawl over her easily and get out. I'm not...
Use her for a flotation device.
But you know...
What you said.
I was joking. Okay?
Yeah, we was joking.
Does the old lady that was sitting next to you know you were joking?
You didn't tell her?
I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that's where that comes from. But I think one of the things I want to talk about, one of the things that bothers me is I think anytime now we're going to have another virus scare, even if it is just a bad flu strain that is going around. When all this COVID started, the flu season was being touted as one of the worst flu seasons we've had.
Yeah.
Did we panic? Did everybody hide? Did everybody wrap themselves in plastic? No. It didn't even make the news half the time. It's bad flu.
Well, I mean, you can use the hurricane. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, it's just like with the flu thing, people have had it. There are some people that are, immune to it. Like, it's been around for how long? But this one's brand spanking new, and nobody's immune to it.
And we could go off on the rabbit trail. Where did it come from? That's an interesting conversation. But
China.
Yeah. But now that this has become the precedent, now that we have hunkered down and we've quarantined and taken all these drastic actions, is this going to be the standard operating procedure whenever something like this happens again? Oh my gosh, there's an Ebola flare-up. We've got a single Ebola victim here in the United States. Everybody quarantined. Everybody shut down.
I mean, we had that 5 years ago, and that didn't happen. So I don't know.
I know, but we've set a precedent now. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but nobody shut down anything until we had like major outbreak. Like there was some cases in the United States, and we were all still. I was like that. I was like, it's not worse than the flu. We're fine. Some people got it. We're fine. But I changed my tune pretty quick when it started spreading. So that's what I think. I don't think that we're going to probably have too much of a knee jerk unless it spreads more. If we have 1 or 2 cases and we're able to quarantine it, but I mean,
see, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I think this is going to be the knee jerk reaction now. Anytime there's something that's weird, anytime that there's some kind of an illness that is highly contagious, I think we're going to go into this or some version of this, and people are going to look to the government for the cash. Go ahead.
Well, it's like it's the hurricane analogy. You remember how we would have them come through, and we'd be like, "Oh, that was a hurricane. That was a Category 1, big deal." And then a big one comes through, and then all of a sudden, now every time a hurricane, everybody panics.
Right.
Just like
and that happened after Andrew too. It was like after you have so many hurricane seasons where it wasn't that bad, people stopped caring. And what Andrew was in '94, and then that 2005 outbreak where the 3 of them hit in a row, nobody was prepared because we were all like, meh, it's fine.
I had just built a house. My house was brand new. And it's like, I guess we're going to test whether this place can take a punch.
Yeah. So I think that's part of like human nature and history too, just like you're saying, Dale, with the hurricanes. I think it just depends on trends. Like if if several years from now, we have a few flu outbreaks, it's not as big of a deal. I don't know. It just depends. I mean, you got to think too, the last time this happened in 1918, it's been 100 years and people still don't want to take it as seriously or compare it to it as the same thing. And so it's like, I think time does a lot too. So I think it just depends on how long, maybe. So
I think there's a positive spin on this as well. We haven't had an event that has pulled us together and made us make personal sacrifices since World War II.
Or at least it's 9/11, But even that one wasn't so much as personal sacrifice. You're right.
That's my point. In 9/11, there was a lot of fear, and there was a lot of questioning as to what's going to happen next, and so forth. But this event has caused us to have to think about rationing our food. We've, all kidding aside, I was talking to somebody today that is dangerously low on toilet paper. They're really having to go find it, and they can't.
I found napkins, by the way. I'm just saying. I know.
Were they from your glove compartment?
No.
In the car?
No, I'm just saying we ran out of paper towels, and I don't like that, so we've been using napkins.
Right.
And I can't find paper.
You guys are rough.
I know.
I don't want to know what the other napkin uses are. We're just going to skip over that.
I'm just saying.
But England has reintroduced, the bakeries there have reintroduced what they call a World War II bread. It is a very nutrient dense, easy to make whole wheat bread. Well, that hasn't been around since World War II. Here in the United States, there are companies that are having to transfer from making what they were making. You've listened to the news, General Motors and some others have been told, you will now make masks. You will now make respirators.
Or ventilators, yeah.
Ventilators, yeah, thank you. This type of coming together and making a sacrifice for the betterment of society, we haven't had this since World War II.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think this is one of the unique things that has always made this country unique and strong and special, is that when the chips are down, there is something in us as Americans where we go, okay, I'm going to set down my personal prejudices. I'm going to set aside my selfishness and my personal gain desires. And okay, I'll make some sacrifices, and we'll see if we can't
get through this
ration
together.
this and get through it together. And I think it will make us a bit stronger as a society.
Yeah.
I think this one of the things. And have you noticed how much people have turned to God in this time, where the fear of the fear of what's going to happen. If I go outside, am I going to catch it? If I order something off Amazon and the guy drops it off, am I going to catch it? Am I going to die? There's a lot of angst. There's a lot of worry. There's a lot of anxiety. And there's also an awful lot of people that are turning to God for guidance and for strength and for peace. And those two things, I think, actually are going to have quite a positive effect on our nation as a result of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a natural optimist, so I'm always going to find the silver lining with you too. I'm like, there's some good things in this. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't go to Twitter, because God is not on Twitter. There's some of the nastiest people I've ever seen in my life.
I think it drives to polars, like you're saying, Seth. Either like if you had a basic belief in God, but you're kind of like, when everything's good and dandy, but then when this stuff goes down, you kind of go running to his, to his feet. But at, the people that are definitely like, I probably don't believe in God, they kind of run the other direction and just end up blaming him. Like you can see, like the governor of New York kind of just
blaming everybody.
So it's kind of like where you're at. So and part of it too is just stress and going through this. People are going to go through different levels of processing. I don't know. It just depends on the person's reaction.
The other thing that I've seen is the unusual amount of conspiracy theories that are rolling around from all of this. From, where did this come from?
Where's it going?
To what's going to happen, to, well, this is clearly how the mark of the beast is going to be introduced to the society. I've got family members. You know who you are. That are.
What's the latest from them? I'd love to know.
Well, I think Dr. Fauci, in one of his press conferences, made a comment that this could be seasonal, that this could be a reoccurring problem, and that individuals who get tested and are, and show signs of having the antibodies or whatever, probably need some type of identification that shows, hey, I've had it, I'm good, I can still walk around in society.
I can wear a T-shirt that says that. I don't need an inject me or anything.
I'm pretty sure, Dale, you could have a T-shirt that says "I've had it" for a lot of things.
Poor Dale. Poor Dale. He's always the butt of all this.
It's low-hanging fruit, and I'm sorry, so the people that I've talked to have run with that. The statement of, "Hey, you've got information that says I've got the antibodies or I'm now immune." Run with it, saying that the government is going to force us to carry the papers. You must wear all your papers.
I saw that news story and I was like, oh no, somebody's going to take that and run. No.
There are some people that believe that if and when a vaccine or some type of medical treatment is made, an inoculation for this, that it will contain microchips. Nano microchips that will then be able to track you. And
because they can't put that in the flu vaccine that a lot of people get over here.
Now, on that, like remember when we did the conspiracy theory show, there were a few conspiracies that we talked about that were legitimate. One of the things that caught my attention that made me go, that's interesting. Google and Apple, they are absolutely opposed to each other. They are competitors and they are brutal towards each other, except when they are working together to create an app, a social tracking app for our devices, that if you test positive for it, you put it on your phone, and then then it starts tracking who you are associating with, who you're with, so that they can track who you may have spread it to. And I'm assuming they want to let those people know, not show up and knock on their door at midnight and whisk them away to quarantine. But
an Amber Alert will go off on their phone.
I guess,
That's bad enough already.
That's the first thing that caught my attention. Is like, okay, we have tech rivals that are working together in order to create legitimately a tracking program for our devices,
which they can't already do now. No,
but they said, oh, don't worry, we'll be very careful with your personal information, and it'll be all private, because
we can
Apple
trust them.
And Google, Apple and Google, they have been absolutely faultless in their security so far. Haven't
I mean,
they?
Apple's a little bit better. I'm a little bit biased. So
when it comes to the whole, just worship me, that kind of thing, mark of the beast, I dismiss a lot of it as a lot of it is, there are people that's going to say, oh, tomorrow you're going to wake up and that's it. Well,
you don't know. I mean, we're just going to have to see, huh?
Well, the thing of it is, though, is that I will say that tomorrow it's not going to be that way. Next week when we wake up, it's not going to be that way. But every day, think of this analogy, right? There's a train outside that runs in your backyard, right? Train runs by, and every day at 4 o'clock it goes by. Vroom! And every day at 4:30 you go out there with a hammer and you tap on one of the rails. Every day. Just knocking it a little bit out of alignment. Now, for a very long time, that train is going to run by and nothing's going to happen. But every day, just a little bit, you're knocking one of those rails offline. You're knocking it away from the other so that it's not even. At some point down the line, if you keep tapping that rail, at some point that train's going to come by and it's going to derail. Every day, and this is the only thing I'm going to say about this, every day that we introduce something that would allow the biblical end times to actually happen, every day that we just tap that rail just a little bit, every day that we desensitize ourselves from relinquishing our freedoms, relinquishing our civil rights, every day that we just tap that rail just a little bit, at some point the train is going to derail.
Yeah, I know.
That's my point.
I get that with the political side of it, but with the God side of it, like, we have no control over that. So, you know.
No, we don't have any control over it. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take a stand against it. We can't take the attitude of like, oh, the end times are coming. There's nothing I can do about it, so I'm just going to sit back here
and do nothing.
Yeah, it's like, no, we got to fight.
Well, you got to fight for the country we live in, because we like the country that we live in, and we appreciate the values that we have here. So yeah, you want to fight for.
America is very special.
Yeah, so we want to fight for that, but it's not biblically mandated, and it's not going to be here forever. Like, so it's one of those like, let's fight for it, but we also know that, you know, we don't have all the control, which kind of sucks.
So it's like, you know what? I heard something. A pastor once said to me, "Work like it's up to you. Pray like it's up to God."
Yeah.
You know, every day, do your best. Stand up for what is right. Stand up for what is right, and be strong every day that you can, and pray. Like you mean nothing. Like it's entirely up to God, which, by the way, it is.
I know.
But work like it's up to you. Pray like it's up to God.
Yeah. Do the things He puts in front of you. Do them to the best you can. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah. And if something,
that's exactly right.
If something goes to crap, well, you know, it's not mine to begin with. It's okay.
Right. Yeah. All right. So next time we get together, we're going to have a little conversation about weird and unusual, trivial bits of knowledge, things that you may not have known. But the next time you get together, when all of this is over and you get to go to some kind of a party or some kind of a social gathering, you don't just sit there and stare at each other going, I got nothing to say. We're going to give you some amazing and fun little tidbits of information and have some fun with it. That's the next program that's coming up. Thank you for being a part of it. And hey, listen, brand new episodes, if you didn't know this already, dropped every Tuesday around 3 o'clock. The last episode was a great interview with Eric Metaxas, who's written wonderful books on Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And the ones we were talking about are people throughout history and what made them great. Really, really good books and a fascinating interview. So check us out every Tuesday about 3 o'clock. Make sure you like us. Make sure you share it. Make sure that, what else are they supposed to do? Oh, yeah. Follow us everywhere.
Like us, love us, want some more of us.
Yes,
sure.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And thank you again for joining us, and we'll talk to you again, I don't know, let's say in about a week.
Sure.